All right, let's call this meeting to order. Good morning. It's Tuesday, July 11th, 2023, and this is the meeting of the Sandpoint Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation Commission, and we are now called to order. For the record, I am Chairwoman Ellen Susness, presiding at City of Sandpoint Council Chambers, 1123 Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. Commission members present or absent. Anna Combs is here. Barry Burgess is absent. Karen Wiedemeyer is absent. Caitlin Schick is absent. Keely Gray is here. Mike Wisco, who is normally on Zoom, is absent so far. Rick Decker is here. Woody Sherwood is here. And of course, Heather's here. Now we will proceed with the approval of the minutes from the commission's last meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from June 13th, 2023. Can I get that motion?
A motion to approve the June 13th minutes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? A second. Keely seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Question for the chair.
Yes.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
We have 5 of 9.
okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure. I thought so, but I wanted to confirm that.
Good question, though. All right, moving on to 4A. We actually have some new numbers for the financial report. Heather, would you go ahead and read those
Yes,
off?
I was just at Sura this morning and their agenda came in after ours. So the numbers for downtown for the art funds are $157,000, 450. But they are hard to read.
I know, right?
Northern 87,446 and 3 cents. And then we have the reserved funds for the silver box program, 14,840 and 22 cents. And the remaining that is the 5,159.78. So those are different from the posted agenda.
2 questions. One, is silver box, I mean, the way it's presented here, is that not from Sura funds? And if it is not, how do we, I know we'll have enough money to do this cycle, but how would we acquire more funds to do next year's, if that's the case?
It is from Sura.
Oh, okay.
And essentially, they hold these, we have access to these funds, Northern and downtown, which, you know, I just read the posted amounts, but every time we go do a project, we have to present to them and essentially have approval to use the funds for the specific project if they agree upon that. My understanding is LEU went in the previous years and said, you know, we'd like to do this many cycles with silver box. So they pulled that money aside to do that. So
And then as the Sura funds accrue over time, those never expire, right? They would just keep building and then we use them as we develop our projects. Okay. Thank you.
and then this Sandpoint urban renewal cycle ends in 2029. And just as a reminder, we get 2.5% per increment. So that's like $2.50 from the dollar that comes in. So it's fun to see those keep rising.
Yes. And actually, to answer your question, we started out with a budget of $20,000 for the silver box, and so what you see there is what's remaining.
Mhm.
And all right, so heading on to old business, 5A, Sandpoint Community Grants, updates for NEA ARP operations support grant and Idaho Commerce General Grant. You have an update?
I do. So we have of the 8 participants that were awarded, 2 are still at a semi-annual period and they will be closing out shortly. So that was the Lake Pend Oreille Repertory Theater and the YMCA. And one of them I've already been in communication with and they're on it, so that's really exciting. I'll be contacting the other just as a friendly reminder as well. And then the Idaho Commerce Grant, that was the grant for the Canada roof. Understanding that they have to go through the same procurement process. They've had to give us all of their contracts with their roofer. They had to get the 3 bids, go with the lowest bid and so forth, just as the city has done. So they are finishing up the Canada on getting us the last pieces of information, and then they'll be able to proceed. They need to have that roof done before September in order to meet the requirement of the grant. And they feel like that will be no problem. So that's great news.
Do they have a contractor lined up?
They do.
Okay.
Right?
Great question.
Are there any questions, any other questions on those grants?
Just a comment to Heather, thank you for your support with the organizations. It's been, this is our first grant for the LPL rep, and so it's been wonderful to have your support throughout it.
I really appreciate hearing that. Well, thank you for all that you do for the community.
Fabulous, thanks, Kate. All right, then, heading on to 5B, the Community Enhancement Grant. Let's get an update on that.
World. So that was submitted yesterday. So as a reminder, that's the CEG grant through the state historic office. And it's for technology. So using putting all of our resources online through an ArcGIS story map, which I think will be really exciting. So the funds will be used, and it's $2,500 with a matching fund of $2,500 from the city and volunteer support. So the total will be a little over $5,000 for a special project for our ArcGIS consultant within the city to put it together. And I look forward to being trained through that process as well, so I can continue to do what we're doing for historic preservation for our public art as well.
I think that's gonna be a great resource.
Excited about it. Yeah. So it felt good getting that grant in.
Yes, thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Was there any other questions on that grant? All right, let's move on. Let's move on to 5C, which is the project teams. Let's update our team, the grant team. We've kind of been on the back burner since we've been so busy, and I think we needed some clarification on which way to move once we are able to.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I think we kind of want to regroup on that idea, don't you?
So maybe that needs a meeting of all of us.
Because I
At
think
some point.
that's where we left it, was we need some clarification from
Mhm.
Heather before we move forward, because we kind of shifted because it started as an events, grants, scheduling kind of calendar thing, and then it shifted to more of the grant opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we left it, was having a meeting with you.
I think that the idea of that team should kind of, and I'd of course love to support it, but how can we help organizations build capacity essentially, right?
Exactly.
So I agree. I think we need to have a meeting about that. And, is it even necessary to create a resource, or do we have on our website all the different links of places that already do it, like the Idaho nonprofit? I think Woody, you had mentioned that earlier. And so I think that you're right, revisiting that is a good idea.
All right, well, we'll do that in the next few months as things maybe slow down a little bit. I'll give an update on the art inventory team. We haven't really gotten together, but I know that Barry and Caitlin, as they're around town, they've been shooting pictures. And of course I have, and in fact, the other night I went across the way at the south end of Superior, well, the east end of Superior, at the off ramp where the Sandpoint sign is. The Sandpoint sign has some maintenance issues. So I got some photos of that and submitted them to the Engage Sandpoint app, actually.
That's so great.
So yeah, as you're out and about, actually in town, if you see a great shot of our public art, just go ahead and grab it and send it to Heather anyway. And that all contributes to our photo inventory.
Can we use Surah funds for maintenance and repair, or is that just for new projects?
No,
No, yeah.
Okay.
no, and so it's my understanding that maintenance comes out of the parks budget.
Okay. So it just matters.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to
at this point, yeah.
relook at our public art scenario and what we're doing with understanding our current assets, what needs to be repaired, what needs to be maintained. And then the next chapter would be like, what do we want, you know, where are the opportunities? But yeah, it's a lot to wrap the mind around, and I think the downtown waterfront design competition will be really helpful with us understanding how it can be integrated more into placemaking. But I've been working with the city planner, Amy Tweeten, on wayfinding and placemaking. And we have such fantastic pieces. I just don't know if they're where we want them to be, right? Or, you know, how can something be highlighted more? So I'm excited to come back to you guys and hear more of your opinion about our public art and the greater potential of improving it or, you know, adding to it. Like the art coming off of the bridge is fantastic, but you can't really see it. It's right. You know, antiquated metal. So.
That's a nice way to put it.
And then your situation with that Sandpoint sign, I mean, I feel like it's small and it's not illuminated right now, is that correct?
Well, it is illuminated,
But the D is like,
but the letters, it's Corten steel, so it's thick. And the letters, a couple of the letters are pulled out, and I can't imagine it doing it by, I mean, somebody must have pulled on them. I couldn't even budget, so I don't know.
I thought, yeah, could you just give it a little tap?
you know.
But
No, it doesn't. Yeah. And then the reason it's blue is there's a blue film on plexi behind the Corten, and the film is kind of peeling at the edges, so you see white light around the edges, and it's not, especially when you're right on it, it's not attractive, so it just needs some freshening. And I mean, that's
appreciate
been
you
up
having
for,
eyes on it.
like, that's, you know, it's been 5 or 6 years that that's been there, so I think that, you know, it just needs a little love.
And, you know, one of the things that the city runs into is our maintenance team is so spread out and it's so hard to get people in general now, even more so. And so as we're moving forward, like, what are those pieces where you don't have to touch again? Does that exist? I don't know, but.
Well, I mean, a great example of that is the roundabout art.
Yeah.
That, we planned that to be maintenance, the lowest maintenance possible, and, you know, after 4 years, it's still looks just as good as when it was installed, so that's really great, and kudos to the park department. They have so much ground to cover
They really do.
that I appreciate them a lot. All right,
It will be fun to look at all of that.
Well, it's good just going through and like you said, you're actually intentionally putting eyes on it to see is there wear, what kind of wear it is, maintain what we already have,
right,
but then also the new stuff that could go in. You know, how is that gonna look in 5 years? What kind of
Right.
maintenance are we gonna have in 10? So
Exactly.
I think just being intentional about those decisions too, from our previous knowledge.
Good point, thank you, Ray. All right, and our last team is our Monday morning team.
Did you want me to pull it up even though I put changes on it?
Sure.
Perfect. This
So-
has been very exciting.
We've been working on the bungalow pattern book. amongst other things on our Monday morning meetings, and we've got almost a finished product.
Let me find my little arrow here to expand this, friend. I guess I'm just going to share it according to presentation. There we are.
And it's been a lot of fun researching this and putting it together and talking with the group about the bungalows that we have here in Sandpoint. And quite a few of the group has been out taking pictures and looking at those. Woody, did you have any comments on our team?
No, it's really fun. I mean, I think the challenge that we have is the subject is so big and so deep. And there is so many different iterations of style that reflect the evolution of the bungalow and the craftsman and stuff through Sandpoint. That's been kind of interesting trying to figure out how to get back to the basics of it and try and create something that is understandable in a very short and easy manner for people that would be looking for this resource, because it's really a pretty big subject.
So as Woody is saying, it was hard. What's that sweet spot between having too much information where that, target market isn't engaged anymore and enough. And so we landed on the idea of having almost 2 books that work together. And the first pattern book is sharing more of like the history and the fun about the bungalow from a national and intimate to Sandpoint view, so they know more about their home. And then the secondary resource will be expansion of this page of how do you go about it? So that's rehabilitation or building one that fits the surrounding homes. And one of the first pages essentially will be like, how do you work with the city, in a fun way? So like little infographics, start here, go here next. And the point is the more resources that you can give someone, it's a gift. And in the end, the gift will come back to all of us in the community, because we're going to see a beautifully curated neighborhood to some extent where things make sense visually. We're going to see our important historic assets preserved. And, I think it's just a well-rounded and beautiful thing. And I remember, Hannah, back in the day with the museum, everyone wanted to know about their home, but we didn't have a lot of like intimate research about that. So it's something you guys can still give them. And so it will truly be a community resource that helps support other cultural institutions too. And the team is so amazing. Shippo was going on and on about how they can't believe that our commission produced this. This is so high level and it's attractive to read and be a part of. And so, yeah, and I think all of these other cities are going to see the work and do it as well. And it will be nice to have this online so people will actually be able to access it through the ArcGIS. So this is one example of a resource that will be on the ArcGIS. It will also be in a very easy PDF form that could be emailed to people or printed out.
Fabulous. All right, any other questions on that? Any other comments on the team?
No, just that, like you guys already mentioned, it's been fun to try to find a way to inspire people without overwhelming them about what the process is like. So I think.
All right, fabulous. Let's move on then to 5D, the Silver Box program update.
So this has been a really exciting experience for me. I've never done this before, so I'm thankful to all of you, particularly Ellie, who are seasoned at this process. So just as a reminder, we put a call out to artists at the beginning of the month. And we had that, you know, through our general city media sources and outlets. And we also targeted HOAC and they sent that out, but as it started to close, I pinged Ellie because I felt like we didn't really have enough local participants. There were only 12 applicants. It was a regional call. So before it closed, I started cold calling all the sculptors in the community through the list that POAC had provided. They're always so wonderful to work with. And the feedback was really positive from the artists. Like they felt really, they appreciated that we specifically, you know, called them, and that made them feel very special and honored. So I think moving forward, that would be a wonderful thing to do. And I'm also knowing that we haven't really we've only received 12, and I think there's more opportunity for local artists to participate. I spoke with Ellie and we're thinking about extending the call to the end of the month. Is that?
Yeah, I think, you know, having only 12 applicants, that when you narrow down, what actually is workable on the boxes, that narrows the field down even more. So, in order to have just the best selection possible, I think that's a great idea to extend the call and do some more outreach. So that's what I think we would like to do. And, you know, this is our first art call with the new combined commission. So, you know, I want to make sure that we have a really strong showing, right? So, yeah, I think extending the call is a great idea. And what would be the end date of the call?
End of the month. So
So July 31st.
July 31st, yeah.
All right.
When was it originally posted? It was posted June 1st.
With the end date of July 3rd.
It was July 3rd, yeah. So it was exactly,
Right.
yeah, a month. And then we were to review it this week.
And this isn't the first time we've done this. We've actually extended the call before just because of the same reason, you know, not enough applicants, just do a little more outreach. And in fact, what happens if you don't have enough applicants? But we've also just canceled it and re-put out the call, but that costs money. So because every time you put out a new call, you gotta pay the money. So this actually is the better way to go, just extend it, and it doesn't cost any additional cash to cafe. So
And is it regional? Is it national? What is the call? How far does the call go?
I think the call is national.
It was national.
Because that's a pretty short turnaround time for a national call for a month. I mean,
Well, it is, and this particular call is more for artwork that people have in inventory as opposed to making something new. So, you know, that factors into it.
Yeah.
So like people who go to craft fairs, art fairs, usually they have an inventory, and if they have a piece that would fit in that call, they were like, oh, I've got that, I'll submit that. So that's kind of the way that this has worked in the past, so.
thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right, so I think we want to vote on whether to extend the call or not. So I'd like to entertain a motion to go ahead and extend the Silver Box project cafe call to July 31st.
And
I'll second your motion.
I move that we extend the cafe call for the Silver Box project to July 31st.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? Thank you, Woody. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? None heard, so motion passes. Great.
So next steps, as soon as that closes, myself and Ellie will go through and pull out all of the pieces that are eligible. And after that, we'll be presenting it to all of you at the next commission meeting. I'll make sure the meeting agenda is pretty tight so we can accommodate that. And then you guys will decide on the 3 during that meeting, and then I'll present the recommendation to council at the next appropriate council meeting. And then once that is done, then the artist signs the contract, and then they have 2 weeks to install that piece.
Very good.
And then it's on loan for a year.
Nice. We have art in the streets. All right, moving on then. Go ahead.
Sorry, Kimmy, I must slip this in. Speaking of programs, I meant to put this up with project teams, but can we just talk briefly about the walking tour? Because that's a
Oh.
program that we're doing.
Sure.
Just a highlight, so we have the walking tour in conjunction with our walking tour brochure at the last Friday of every month at 10 o'clock. You meet at the front of the Canada. We had 2 amazing artists from Lake Pend Oreille Repertory Theater lead it. And I was there at the beginning to help support them, and they were incredible. They blew my mind. And so it was so wonderful to have that theatrical flavor, sharing the history of our community. And so I'm just over the moon about it. Everyone is so excited at the city. Jennifer, who's a big fan of this program, talked about maybe getting one more going during the weekend. So she was wondering if Saturday, the 5th of August could be accommodated as well. Currently, we have one slated for July 28th, I believe is the last Friday of the month. Are you all comfortable with that? I don't think it has to be an official vote, but just adding one more. So we have 4 theater individuals, performing artists that are trained, and we have 4 commissioners, including myself, that are trained too. That's amazing. So we have 8 people that can give one. So I don't think we'll have a problem. And would you like to add to?
Sure.
commentary?
I was very proud of Andrew and Michael, who were the tour guides for the very first tour. I wanted to be there so badly, but we had an event the day before, and it was like imperative that I be at my day job that following day. So I apologize that I wasn't able to be there myself, but I was in close communication with Heather as well as Michael and Andrew that day, and they were just so excited. And I believe when you trained Andrew that morning, he was so excited. He went to the museum afterwards to get more information so that he could be even more like know more about what he was speaking on. And it was very great because Andrew's just such an outgoing individual, but Michael is a little bit more reserved. But he could not stop raving about how excited he was, how great the group was, how much fun it was. And so I'm excited to try and pull in more folks, and the commissioners that are trained, I will try and create a group for all of us volunteers to kind of get together so that we can split up the tours adequately and make sure that not one person or 2 people are being tapped every single time. But I think it's just a great way for commissioners and community artists to come together and have some fun and share the history of our community. And I can't tell you how many times I heard, "Whoa, I never knew that. That's so cool." And that's thanks to Heather and Hannah, because their amazing training really made it worthwhile. Oh no, you both were together that one day, and it was like the 2 of you could not stop bouncing off of each other.
That's awesome.
Is that Saturday, the 5th? Is that the same weekend as the Arts Fair weekend? Or-
It might be, yeah.
Festival.
Before,
It will be
okay.
festival.
See,
Yeah.
this is why I need that calendar. I'm just kidding.
I think it must be the week before Downtown Arts Fair.
Yeah.
That must be the weekend after the festival.
Yeah, we had 15 people come, and which I think is a pretty great showing. And the one thing I thought about with connecting to kind of the people that, I don't know how we would do this necessarily, but like that have the Airbnbs, rent, you know, like where are the Western Pleasure Ranch, like where are the people that are hosting individuals that are looking for activities,
That's awesome.
to reach out to them and connect.
You do have somebody who works at the Chamber of Commerce and the Visitor Center.
Thank you. Done. Did you just volunteer yourself?
I just volunteered myself to put stuff in the Chamber Visitor Center.
Yes, so I love
With
that.
clearance from the boss.
I love that. So I think that will just organically keep it growing and usually if there's more than 10 people, it's great to split it up into two different. And I think always having two guides is a really good idea. So I think this is just going to be a signature highlight of our programming. Thank you for all that you're doing and
Honestly,
supporting this.
it's been very easy, so I've just considered myself being surrounded by good people.
yay.
Thanks, Kaylin. All right, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and move on. All right, to 5E, the downtown waterfront design competition update.
What you've all been waiting for. So I have the new schedule. It is posted online. So I just wanted to point out to you all, we have so we're on stage 2. Well, yes, bottom of stage 2 and then top row continued. So there's going to be, these 2 public engagement moments, and it looks like this first one is to be determined where the location will be, but there'll be a public exhibit from the 3 different teams of what that plan looks like. So each one has a plan that you'll see, and that will be in person, and there'll be a virtual opportunity as well. And then there'll be a public event where the design teams will actually be presenting their design to the jury, which I think will be a really great engaging thing. It will be fascinating to listen to them speak and talk about, the why behind all those things. Just keep in mind that these are more moments to observe. If there is a comment opportunity, it won't be up at the dais kind of open. It will be more of a written comment, I imagine. And then you'll see that the process continues. And again, the jury is so important to this process because they are the individuals that will make sure that the ideas are viable. And it's not just viable to can it happen, but does it actually work according to all of the master plans? And from a funding source too. And that's the thing, this whole design competition was to bring forth all of the master plans that have been done into one direct plan to implement that downtown core. Do you guys have any questions about this? So August 16th and into the 17th, the results will be announced. And then you'll notice in stage 2, which is in the fall, that's where the workshopping begins. So that means that once that plan has been put forth from the jury, the recommendation, then the nuts and bolts kind of get figured out about viability, and any other ideas from other plans can, be included potentially. And so that one plan really kind of goes through all of the details of how to be essentially a successful plan for our community. And then on October 18th, there's a presentation of the vision to City Council. So I'll keep you all posted. I'll always have this on our agenda. And I'll make sure to send out an email as soon as I get word of when that open to the public engagement moment is and where it will be. Do you guys have any questions on this?
Where is this posted online?
So on the City of Sandpoint website, I'm going to pull it up for you guys so you can see. I use our website as a resource all the time. So you go to City of Sandpoint, it's on our front page. This again, this master plan, I think, is a really great link. This is all of the different plans that they're having to look at and to make happen. So we are so grateful to them because they are doing our job really well with this design competition. And I think you'll be very happy with the outcome. And so if you always look under news and announcements, you'll see right there, there's the rotating concept. that will come up and you'll see the plan. It opens up in a PDF form that you can actually download. And you'll also see we have our walking tour here. I'm working on an updated version of that. We have our silver box program over here and all the other things that are going on as well.
Is the walking tour page? Sorry, is it updated or did you just say you're still working on it?
That's,
Because I think the link I have on the museum website to it is broken right now.
is it?
So I
I'm
just wanted
sorry.
to- No, you're good. I just wanted to make sure I know when it's updated so I can.
Well,
do
this
that.
one is working. That's weird. Well, I am working on the newest one.
Okay, cool.
And so you'll notice up here,
Mhm.
if you click on it, it goes to our Parks and Rec registration and we're under the enrichment category. But you do not have to register to be a participant.
Okay.
But I'll send that directly to you once I have that done.
Yeah, sounds good.
Perfect. And Hannah, you guys are doing tours too, so I'll have you talk to that under general announcements, and it might be fun to think about how we can promote and have synergy there. So that's the downtown waterfront competition.
Great. Are there any other questions on that? We're looking forward to that. All right, then we're gonna move on to new business, 6A. The farmer's market public art request, presentation and discussion.
Okay, team, this is really exciting. So this is our first public art request. Yay! So just as a reminder, you guys approve all of the public art that which is like donations, memorials, just anything under that purview. And you also are in charge of approving murals too.
Well, when you say approve, you mean we vote to recommend to council.
Thank you. Approve a recommendation for council.
Who then will approve or disapprove.
Oh, I love that. You're amazing. So you're the first thumbs up. So this is an interesting one. It apparently came to the city. It's a request from Farmers Market to honor an individual that was a big part of developing Farmers Market and who was a part of it for years. So it's a memorial, and they apparently had worked with the city, and then COVID happened. And so essentially it just got put on pause. So this is the location that they want to put the piece. It is the double light that sits in the center of Farman Park. And the piece that they are hoping to have created and installed is this. So you can see the dimensions are there, and it will be made of plexiglass. Yeah, so we have a new city engineer, Brandon. He's wonderful. I sat down with him and I showed him this and I said, is there anything that I should be aware of? And so we'll make sure that as they're having the piece created, that they will have the hardware that would retrofit installation on the fixture. I also asked about the plexiglass, making sure that it is a stable concept, and they assured me that it would be. And because we cannot replace it if it gets broken or, really maintain any of it. So if this was to be approved by council and you would all recommend it, it would essentially be donated to the city. And then we would install it, our Parks and Rec would. And they would also have a little plaque on the art piece stating who it is in honor of.
Would there be any cost to the city?
Great question. No, pretty much it would just be the labor of installing.
And do you know if it's front and back, that design, or if it's just that?
It's painted plexiglass, so it's transparent or somewhat.
Great questions.
So hypothetically, it should
You
be.
can see it
Like
both
stained
sides.
glass?
I believe it's more like a stained glass transparent. I'll clarify that though.
Can we make some recommendations on it? I have two recommendations. One is, I think we should make sure it has an iron frame all the way around it. Whatever kind of fastener we do here, we should also do up here in addition to these fasteners.
So top, bottom, and side fasteners. Okay,
Some kind of hardware fastener thing would be replicated at the top of it. And there would be a metal frame around the whole thing, so we got some, kids can't tear it up too easily.
If you had that attachment where you said at the top, would you even need the ones that they're showing at the top of the piece? Cause that does look a little bit more fragile there if they're attaching it to those. decorative
Without
items.
seeing the actual, how that iron, that whole thing is and stuff, I'm thinking it's in addition, just so we have even more attachment points.
Mhm.
I make a motion that we recommend that to the city. Council.
have you read this out?
I think I'm okay with that, although I think I would recommend having a little more information as far as how it would be built. Don't you think? Just a rendering like this,
It doesn't, we all have a lot of questions.
yeah, it doesn't give a lot of details about the strength and the durability. And obviously, something like this is not gonna be durable super long term.
Okay, can I amend my motion just a little bit before it's second? Or I'll withdraw my first one and make a new one.
Yeah.
But it's that there is a additional construction set of drawings that meets the satisfaction of the city engineer
Mm.
before construction.
Well, he was satisfied with this, so,
Okay,
and,
I'm a little concerned.
I just need some more guidance from you guys. I asked additional questions and she stated that this is Emily with Farmers Market. The plexiglass is designed for outdoor art and durability. It will not break. That's what she said. And just a couple more pieces of information. This is Tammy Martinson of Sacred Earth, who passed away in 2018. This is for her. The artist, she did not know the name, but his name is David, and he did the David Thompson statue.
Oh,
Um,
gotta get to it.
I probably, and my thing, knowing that I'm in the midst of memorials and placemaking, I think we need to have parameters on the narrative or what that plaque looks like, because when you allow one memorial, I think you need to have consistency. So maybe it just says in memory of Tammy, but not a huge story about her.
Could it be something simple like in memory of Tammy who made great contributions to the farmer's market or something?
So maybe we limit it to what, like a 5x7
Or something, yeah.
plaque that goes on the art piece?
Would there be oversight on what it says? Would the city
Yes.
provide oversight on what it says?
Because it's in the public. park,
Mhm.
yeah.
Do we have any policies for this type of thing?
We just reviewed our policies and procedures, but when it comes to art donations and memorials, we're currently working on it with the city. I felt like I couldn't put this person on hold any longer to wait until we had that done. Although I was tempted, to be honest, but since she's been waiting so long, I talked to Jennifer and she felt like this was something that we could pull through.
Does it fit what we have if the city were to do it? Cause you said it, we don't have it for donations. But if the city were to do, can we look at that?
We
section
have a
that we
donation agreement.
Yeah, but I
You mean
mean,
like the standards the city would have for public art? Is that what
Or-
you mean?
like, if the city was doing.
Well, our current policies and procedures, I can certainly pull up.
Yeah, cause we did just go over that a couple
We
months
did,
ago.
yeah, and we felt like the area with donations was needing to be reviewed. So I know it is a little bit cart before the horse, and we can certainly, I can let the farmer's market know, like I brought it up to the commission and we are not yet ready to,
I think Rick's right. If what they've proposed meets the standards that the city would have for an installation of its own, then
I would agree with that. Yeah, because if that policy's been around for a while and we feel comfortable with it.
policy,
Policy, if the policy
that policy.
that particular one.
We don't really have, so every department is working on policies and procedures right now because it just was a little bit more organic and how it used to be, but with the growth that we're experiencing, we're realizing quickly that, that doesn't work. And that's what, 6 years ago, our city administrator was brought on to do, is just to make sure that we had that structure. And it's been a journey kind of getting to the point to have all of those things in place. So what we would do, thinking of that, and that internal art donation policy, it would go back to the working copy that we're working on.
Right.
Could
So
we do something similar to, say, the Silver Box program, or is there something for permanent art that we have already that we can just cookie cutter, copy paste? Okay,
unfortunately, this and this was my concern as well. We're just kind of in a little bit of a limbo period at the moment. So I've just pulled up our current procedures. So we have how you identify a project, implement it. If we needed to do a panel, how that would go about. But here is a selection criteria. But that would be more for like project-based or silver box. But then we do have the criteria for artwork. Here, which goes back to placemaking, which I think is really important.
well, and I think this hits, like number 3, I think is our biggest concern as a commission, at least that's what I'm hearing. Permanence, the structural and surface soundness, warranty provisions, and the inherent resistance to theft, vandalism, weathering, and extensive maintenance of repair costs. I think that's what if I'm hearing this correctly, and please everybody chime in, that's our biggest concern with this piece, is that we want to make sure that if it's installed, it's not going to be broken in 2 months and be just sitting there broken forever. And not cost the city any money with repair and anything like that.
What do you
I totally agree with those comments, but I also would like to maybe say that what we might want to do is make sure we keep this in an artwork category, not a memorial category.
Correct.
I agree.
So we may not want even any kind of thing other than maybe they could weave something in for her name or something into the
The little plaque.
into the artwork.
Oh,
So,
And, but not have it where there's a plaque there
No
that says
plaque.
memorial
Okay.
of or something, because then all of a sudden, who's the next guy that wants to do something in memorial of? Because this is about artwork, not a memorial that we're bringing in.
And is there an implication with memorials that they will be up for ever?
that was my question too.
Yeah.
yeah, well, you guys, this is what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
Because, Cami can speak to the history of public art, and most of the time before SAR, it was donations and it was just put in parks where it made sense, right? In conjunction with the Arts Commission, but I think we're in a whole new world now, right? And things that were done back in the day don't necessarily work today. And so I think we also need to, good point about memorials, when somebody is honored, even with a park, what happens when changes are made at the park? It's hard for people that, even know that is going to be an important chapter of the history of that park. When someone new donates and does something, it affects the previous donors. And how do you help them transition? So I'm glad you guys are being thoughtful about how this works for longevity as well in
Well,
terms of donations
And
and
it's not like this is a
honor.
bench, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of parks, they have like benches and then they
Yes.
have an in memoriam of, and I think this is a totally different ballgame because this is an actual art installation piece
Mhm.
that's going to add or take away from essentially the master plan that we have for what
Yeah.
the city looks like.
Mhm.
So I think that's at least where my brain is going is, and I think Rick addressed it too, is it gonna fit in to
Mhm.
what we are doing with the master plan, the downtown waterfront competition, all of these things?
Yeah,
Because if it were just a pretty bench in the city, we'd all be like, go for it,
right.
have some fun. Great place to sit in the park.
I think these are really, really good points, and we can totally put this on hold until we see what comes out of the master plan.
I think seeing the drawing, I think it fits in with Farm and Park, like it has that whimsical flavor that the other art there has. I think it would be a good addition to it, but our conversation has brought up a lot of good questions about different precedents that we might be setting. Possibly the need for additional information in our policies moving forward.
I think then from the other side too, knowing that if I'm donating to the city, will you take it down in a year because you wanna, that pole needs to move or whatnot, and so if I know that from the beginning, when you tell me that it's moving, yeah, it's tough, but at least I knew it from the beginning.
Well, and the ramifications could go also to the James E. Russell, because we have beautiful art that's going in front of that too, that's being donated. So again, it raises all of these questions of like,
Yeah, this is similar to what we're going through at the museum with deaccessioning, because I've run into a lot of books typically, but items that have nothing to do with the scope of our collection, but there's a stamp inside that says donated in memory of so-and-so. And it's like, is that a good enough reason to keep it? If it otherwise doesn't serve our collection scope. So, but they're tricky. Very,
Yeah,
very
I mean,
tricky.
I appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, we're right in the middle of like our new master plan and figuring out like how donations should look, how public art should look, like placemaking. It's a tricky thing, and do we want to rush it through? So just so you guys can see what we're dealing with right now with Farmers Park and the current art that we have. I really applaud you all for being very thoughtful about not just like placing something somewhere, but thinking about all the different attributes of it.
Woody, did you have a question?
No, I just had a comment, and that is kind of tying in with that discussion. I think I remember somebody from the city, being the city manager, speaking of how the park is basically being overrun by the farmer's market, and it's really not all that suitable of a long-term location for what we're trying to accomplish there. They can't keep the grass growing there, they can't keep certain things, and it works well for that one certain aspect, but the park the rest of the week is kind of a trashed out thing because of the impacts of the farmer's market. And so I remember somebody making a comment that not so far down the road here, this whole thing on this park and the farmer's market and stuff is gonna have to be addressed.
well, I know
So-
it's been huge and they've been getting record number crowds.
Oh, it's a wonderful thing.
Oh, no, I'm actually, to your point, it's like to keep that maintenance up, to make it look like a park has to be a tremendous amount of work with the impact we have more vendors than we've ever had, and we have more patrons than we've ever had
Right.
there.
Exactly.
So that just goes back to what Rick said is, what happens if the park gets changed?
Yeah, what, or the function of it or whatever.
I think, like I said before, if you consider the art that's already in this park, we have the clock tower, we have the performance space, the hare and the tortoise, and isn't that like the Jack and the Beanstalk?
Yeah, I'm gonna take you guys to the other side here. Sorry, hold on.
So it all
Don't forget
has.
the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, that's
That is
there.
there.
Oh, yeah, okay, I know where that is. So we've got a lot of stuff that has sort of like a children's, like fairy tale.
Whimsical is a good word.
Whimsical.
Seven that you want to put together.
And in the design that they're presenting, it's not like it's a bunch of tomatoes. It's not like a farmer's market themed artwork.
I'm gonna bring that up
Um,
too.
Right, so it's, yeah,
So in terms of
It still would be
longevity,
whimsical in the park-like setting.
I think they're gnomes dancing under a sun and a moon. So they sit on the beanstalk and they touch the hair.
Well, so my opinion on this is, they've waited a while, but let's wait a little bit longer and do some research to some other communities, how they deal with. This is just bringing it to the forefront. We were gonna get to this eventually, but we need to get to it now. Finding out what other people do for donated art, memorials, do a little more research before we put this to council. That's my opinion.
if we tried to wrap it up within the next month, and then assuming it went to council and got approved, they would still be looking at being able to install it in September, which would probably be early
Well-
enough, right?
Do we even know that that's the case? How long does it take to make?
Oh, I thought it was already made.
I
Oh,
don't
okay,
believe so.
gotcha.
So this is next year
Yeah,
anyway,
for
right?
sure. Mhm.
Well, if we've got time and it hasn't even been built yet, I think it's worth our time as a commission to kind of.
Yeah.
Suss out what we
Mhm.
want this kind of, for lack of a better word, policy, or how this, we want to set a good precedent. I think ultimately is what we're all concerned about.
I would love your guys' support in figuring this out. It's a complicated task, I feel like donations of public art memorials, and so, but I've been wanting to do it, so I'm thrilled.
Yeah, it's just a reason to
Right?
get on it, right?
So, and I think at that time too, we should complete our policies and procedures because it needed that fine tuning with this component. So what are your thoughts? Do we want to do a special meeting or create a work team? The work team has to be under, it has to be 4 people or under. What, I'd love your opinion on how we can get this figured out.
Could it be a project for the team that's already doing the public art? Work? The policies. and-
Caitlin, Barry and I, yeah, definitely.
Sorry. Throw that on you guys.
Actually, we're not really doing the policy, so. you and
Okay.
I have been doing the
We
policies,
had a
so-
hard time with traction,
Mhm.
because of everyone's schedules, so we ended up pulling that through our historic preservation team, which I feel like is pretty well loaded with projects, so I almost feel like we should get a new team
Yeah,
to tackle this.
I mean, I'd be game for a special meeting if we wanted to just.
With our whole
spend-
commission?
Yeah,
Okay,
because I feel like all of us have pretty strong opinions about it.
okay,
Yeah, let's do that. Then we can do some research ahead of time.
Yeah.
Well, we know
so,
we have a meeting a month from today, or, approximately, when is the August 8th?
well, that's gonna be a big meeting because we're going to be deciding on recommendations for Silver Box.
Okay,
So we'll want to have a separate meeting.
okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if some city or organization has created like a toolkit or resources about more of the practical, like material use, durability, longevity of different types of materials. That might be worth researching.
I think you should be a part of this. You
my
just
mouth
have
shut.
such really.
I know, it's very dangerous being around there. She just looks at me and she's like, you would be so great for this project.
That's a great idea.
Track
Your
the
head.
Talking about the first, the capable.
Yeah.
It's real.
So let's do an action on this, for special meeting.
Sure.
And then I think we should have a plan of how, like, I can send out an email and we can figure out like, hey, everybody, try to find 3 examples or, so we can come prepared to the meeting as
Yeah.
well.
Well, even specific, like one goes materials, the other, somebody else goes in memorials and how other cities do that. So we're not all
So
shotgun.
I think what I'd like to do then, let's decide on a special meeting. And then today, I think with our group, even though not everyone's here, I think we need to make that decision because the emails back and forth after we disperse, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So I'll let you move forward figuring that.
All right, so I would like to entertain a motion to put forth some research on this project, have a special meeting, and go forward from there to clarify our policies before we make a decision on this particular item.
I will make that motion that Ellie just so eloquently said.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard, so motion passes.
I'm so excited about this. So what I'm gonna do from an administrative standpoint is I'm gonna send you all everything that I have. Perfect. So like, what is our current code? What is, what do we have in terms of that policies and procedures and public art? And then I'll have you guys all review that, and then next steps would be,
Do we have a subject matter expert for installation out, like maybe somebody from Parks and Rec that would?
Austin and Brandon. I'll also work with them on, so maybe I can work with them on how the process of how to go, like,
Maintenance and installation, I think, is the big
yeah,
key things that we're wondering about.
how that works.
And
So-
if there's any red flags that they can see.
And I think because it has to be all individually based, but it would be nice, again, to have like the manual of how to do it.
I'll research if that exists.
Okay,
If anyone's made something like that.
so Hannah, you're doing the installation process? Or
More
research
of like,
for
materials, durability and
Perfect.
longevity.
material
Just to see
durability,
if there's anything out there that. can
other
help us
examples, okay.
evaluate pieces.
So essentially, it was like section, whatever in the
Mhm.
procedures here. Okay, so what other aspects are we needing to flesh out?
Oh, sorry, quick question on that. If I find something, say like that Northwestern University published about this topic, is that something that the city would just be able to use as a resource, or would there be like copyright issues or anything?
We borrow off of each other. I think each city inspires each other,
Perfect,
so
okay.
we'll just make it,
So we can just use whatever. we
we'll be
find.
highly influenced.
Kind of flattery, don't you know?
And make it our own. Let's go back to this procedures really quickly. So, maybe someone wants to look at, it would be nice to have another set of eyes to go over. I want us all to dissect maybe our policy and our procedures again.
So you set that out on May 8th.
Yeah,
Is there changes?
no.
Okay,
But I feel like now that we're faced with one,
Yeah, it's
it's an
perfect.
even better opportunity to understand this document more.
Yeah, we've got to clean it up and put it to use. We've got a reason to do it.
Are there any other areas that we need to look at examples? Maybe how other cities go about doing donations? Is that, or memorials? Was there anybody that wanted to look into that?
I had a question about it. Is there, and this might be a question for those who have been on this commission for a long time, are there any permanent pieces in Sandpoint that are like the pinnacle, the best ones that we really love and like to keep and is kind of like the standard, for lack of a better word? Is there any that we could look at the aspects of that and,
Lady Liberty is like the iconic donation.
okay,
But it was garden art. It was mass produced. So that's the funny part of it. And it was a memorial too. So this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
I just want to let y'all know. I mean, I've been trying to wrap my mind around it too, and it almost seems like a larger elephant to me than historic preservation. Because I feel like we need, it's so subjective and it has been and it's worked, but I feel like with our commission, we want to have like the rules behind it. And I think that's important.
And kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, when I was just looking at, okay, we have our own policy with art. But then if it's dedicated, it should fall into that. Kind of thinking about it some more, looking at our policy, do we have restrictions on, I don't know what it would be, that is realistic for the city, yet a donation would kind of fall outside that policy. So we have monetary restrictions or something along those lines. But a donation kind of opens the world, so it could fall outside of our policy. Just looking at it, the different ways that, you know, I didn't. After thinking about it, I don't want to pigeonhole it to just the policy of what we would create or have.
Well, it's good to have some leeway for sure,
Yeah,
right?
I guess, yeah,
I
that's
mean,
more.
You can't have the Wild West and then so many restrictions that nothing's gonna get accepted. There's gotta be some gray area
Right.
that some
Maybe,
room to grow.
Mhm.
maybe what I'm like looking at B under criteria. And the considering factors, so like the quality, strength. So I think what we're wanting to know is like, how do we determine these things? Like, how do other cities do it? So Hannah, you're talking about a tackling number one,
Or number 3.
But number one is artistic quality, strength of artist conception. So 1 and 2, we probably can decide that when we're in a meeting with all of our thoughts, along with 4. But 5, it's almost like you're talking to 5, Rick, about project budget, fee schedule, artist experience, permanence of material, construction schedule, and city permitting.
So now say we're still looking at this hand-drawn sketch that we just got, irregardless of who it came from. So the criteria for the artwork shall consider the following: the artistic quality, the strength of the artist concept, vision, craftsmanship, and originality of the artwork. With that piece of paper, we actually know nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So in my mind, we couldn't. In my mind, I couldn't
Get all that information from them.
Make a decision.
make a decision to send to council on this piece of paper that we just got today.
I agree.
So that's where I feel like. If we weren't gonna go back and work on policy, I would say we need to go back to the. Person who submitted that and say, we need more renderings, we need to know the artist's name, we need to know, see his body of work, we need to know that this is actually gonna stand up. I just need more information.
So
Just
I-
going off that first.
Is there a written
Paragraph.
application that comes in with the proposal, or is it just a sketch?
This is,
The-
yeah, and
The
I
only application we have is the mural application, so I mean.
I was just looking for that.
Ideally, we
Yeah,
could have an application for donations.
I
as
think we
well.
should, yeah, for art donations.
Cause I was
right?
thinking that about like number 1, it talks about the artist concept, and again, we don't want to limit it to like, we can only have artwork about bears and fish. But,
Right.
maybe there should be a question on the application that says, how does your work like represent some aspect of Sandpoint's culture, or something like that, that just helps us understand what the meaning is, what their intention is behind the piece.
I feel like we're all almost kind of wanting this, I'm kind of being reminded of like a bidding situation, like when the city goes out for like a project to do something, to build something, they go for the contract, they try and seek a contract for it, right? And so there's certain things that they look for, standards that they meet, that has to be applied to make sure that it's going to meet all of these things. For me, seeing like, I feel like as a commission, the subjectiveness with the artistic quality and all of these things, like that is something that we can feel through, for lack of a better word. But I think the biggest concern that we all have is definitely that the structural element, like if the artist is competent, if they're going to be able to keep up on their work, if it's going to be reliable, trustworthy, the reputation of the artist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, like some sort of application process, some sort of something that's like, these are the questions that we have. Can you answer all of them and make us happy?
And then they know what to do.
Yeah,
Exactly,
exactly.
exactly.
I think what we need, I'm seeing this all and I love it. So I'm gonna send you all our mural application and then also like what our criteria page would look like for the Silver Box program. And I think we need to redo our mural application. Like, see, it just keeps getting a little bigger, but that, like,
Yeah,
what
there's
is,
things we can
what does
add to
that process look
Yeah.
like? Develop our public art application from that as well. So that's the second one. And then I could even see like creating an infographic, like how to go about the process too.
Yes.
So, yeah, and the other arm though that I'm still trying to process is most of this is attached to honoring somebody. So I feel like, how do we face public art if it's a memorial?
Mhm.
So that's what we need to kind of dig into,
So
how other cities are
Maybe
doing
I
it.
should send you all an email with like all this broken out with all of the different, and then
Kind of have us just sit on it and sift through it.
now just remember, because it's all of us, it can't be a full conversation. It has to come back to me only. So don't reply. Well, I will BCC everybody. And then we'll kind of figure out how to go from there. Does
Yeah,
that
sounds
make
great.
sense?
Mhm.
Okay. It's a biggie, but I think we can easily attack it. It's just gonna take a little bit of time.
Yeah,
I'm kind of back to the, get the 4 people and kind of try and put something together as a subgroup, so you guys can have communication back and forth.
It is helpful.
And then bring it to our full committee to recommend to the city council. Because whatever we come up with, it's gonna have to be approved by the city council.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I like the idea of sending out all the information, let everybody stew on it for a short while. And then let's get a group together.
Yeah, give some input
Of 4
and
people.
then
Yeah.
4
Okay.
people.
Okay, perfect. Well, I feel like I
I'll be
have
one of those.
perfect next steps on this. So it will be a new work team. Essentially, okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I love it. We're just changing things in such a good way.
All right, well, if there's no other questions on that, I think we've got a good plan going forward. And then hopefully what comes of this is we can get some clarity on the farmer's market project and then
Make a quick decision.
make a decision, and then they can
We
be,
have it.
if
Yeah.
it gets approved, then they can be building it during the winter time and then have it ready for the first market, in the spring.
In the meanwhile, I will email the contact back and let them know that I brought it to you all. And through the process, we realized that we need to create more processes. Essentially, and but we understand. We appreciate how long you've been waiting, and we'll try to.
I think they would be grateful for that too, that it got us thinking, but more than anything, that it's not gonna get torn down in 6 months.
Absolutely, we want this to
Because we
be
rushed it through or whatnot, so.
absolutely.
All right, well, let's head on to 7A, around the room, commission and staff, general announcement and comments. Does anyone have any general announcements? What do you?
I'd just like to let the rest of the group know that in the SHPO meeting, that guy Dan, who's the main ramrod from state historical preservation office, he had some really good ideas. And we've been busy, and then we had the holiday and stuff from the meeting, but next week, we're going to, in the small committee, we're gonna try and put together an action plan of the stuff that he was recommending. Some of it actually has some pretty interesting interaction potentially with the waterfront design competition and how the downtown should look over course of time, so. Trying to have a little bit of an update for you guys next month on what the action plan is and how we can kind of, a really incredible resource this man was, and he was exciting, he was energizing, and it was very, very complimentary about what we've accomplished so far, but also very, very astute in how far we have to go. So,
Great. Thank
It'll be
you for
interesting
coming.
to see that.
yeah,
Very good. Anyone else? Would you like to talk about the auction?
Yeah, the museum is holding a deaccession auction. Deaccessioning is the process of removing things from the collection that no longer fit the scope of our collection, and it's a very thorough, complicated process, which is important. It makes sure that we are being very mindful of not getting rid of things just because they're inconvenient or in the way. So it's quite the process, but we have finally gathered together about 150 items that we'll be removing from the collection and will be up for auction. It's going to be a public auction at our current storage unit, and that's over by the food bank. So if any of you guys would like to attend, it's going to be July 22nd. That's a Saturday from 8 to 2. And we're just excited to help those things find new homes. We are doing a preview this Friday from 1 to 4. And part of our, aside from just letting people have a sneak peek, part of our goal with that is also if anyone has information on an object that's there that we don't know, they can share that with us, and that might make us reconsider whether or not to get rid of it. Because a lot of the things that we are deaccessioning are because they have no provenance or no information about them, so.
History mystery.
Yeah.
Hannah, do you have an address for the site where the auction will take
I
place and the
believe
preview?
it is 1807 Culver's Drive.
Do you have a link on your website to the auction catalog?
That needs to happen today. It
It
will be up today. Yeah.
will be there.
Yeah.
is the preview on Friday the 21st or is it?
It's this Friday, the 14th. And that'll give us a week to do anything we need to do if we do reconsider anything.
Or what time's the sneak peek?
1 to 4.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we do have, we're doing anything valued under $15 will just be sold. We'll have it priced and sold. Anything valued over $15 will be by silent auction. And there are photos of the silent auction items on the catalog. So if you can't make it to the preview, you can see those there as well.
How kid friendly? How
Kid-friendly.
kid friendly is it?
As far as the things that will be sold.
Yeah.
I mean, there are books. There's also a lot of like machinery and,
It's an experience.
I wouldn't say
Yeah,
there are like
that's
things
fair.
that kids are gonna like want to buy from it, but, yeah, I mean, they're welcome to come and look around. I will say, if anyone brings kids, keep a close eye on them, because some of the stuff out there is very heavy and potentially like you could hit. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't want anyone to get
Got
hurt, so. Yeah.
And then will you share a little on your walking? I love the advertisement for your walking tours, and maybe we can
thanks.
talk about your walking tour when we do our walking tour.
Yeah, it's okay. We just cut the prices. We just cut the prices in half because no one's been showing up. So we're gonna see if that is the factor. And then otherwise, I think, like you mentioned, it's just a different audience to reach out to. We did look into doing it as an Airbnb experience, but then it was like prohibitively difficult to set that up. But I do think if you know specific people who have Airbnbs, you could kind of like take a flyer and give them flyers and that might work. But there was a lot of like liability stuff with Airbnb that we just didn't want to get into, so.
Well, tell us about the tour.
Yeah, so we have two different tours. On Saturdays, we're doing what we call our newcomer cucumber tour. And this is like a really cute phrase we found in one of the really old papers that actually at the time was probably sort of a slur against people who were moving to the area and didn't know how to live in the wilderness. But we thought it was a cute.
That is so cool.
I'm totally using that.
It's gonna go viral now.
So that's gonna be on Saturdays, and that's more of just general history, like the stories you're gonna wanna tell later at a dinner party and things like that. And then on Wednesdays, we're doing Amazing Animals of Bonner County. And so that one is really good for kids, and it tells a lot of the stories of different animals that live here, like pet bears, trained deer, the dog that would like open the door for people at the store, like just all the really cute stories about different animals that were in town.
And then, so is it like walking and sharing,
Yep.
kind of like downtown
Yeah.
area? And how
Yeah.
long are they? Oh, well,
It's
an
about an
hour,
hour.
excuse me,
Yeah.
read the sign.
Yeah, so it's just like a pretty simple loop around downtown. There are a couple spots where we can like take little, if the group's interested, we could like walk over to the federal building. If not, we can just stand and point at it. So there are a couple.
What would it take to be able to, like, would you ever be open to sharing with our commission one day? Like, if we could meet you up with a cup of coffee and.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, we want to support the museum and be a part of it, but it'd be fun if you could share with us
Yeah.
as the commission.
for sure. Yeah.
They sound brilliant.
For $20, she'll do it.
That's a
I would do it, yeah, and maybe we could like have a special commission tour, and then that way we can kind of spread the tour, and I would pay to have that.
Yeah, it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I think we're still figuring it out.
It's a journey, but thank you for sharing, because this is so cool, and I certainly will spread the word.
Will you be offering this during the winter as well?
No, we're
Just
just doing it through August. We might do one that over Labor Day weekend, but I'm not sure yet. Yeah.
All right, any other announcements? All right, then let's adjourn. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome, good meeting.
Yeah, great. I love how it went full circle